Tonight's notes are about the last years of the Revolution. So, in our previous notes, we talked about the importance of the Battle of Saratoga as a turning point in the American Revolution because it brought the French into the war on our side. They gave us assistance, they gave us supplies and military assistance, and most notably, they brought their navy. So that was a huge boost and really a turning point in the war. But it wasn't the end of the war, right? Britain still had a big army, a big navy, and they still controlled two of our most important cities, Philadelphia and New York. Following the Battle of Saratoga, Washington's army ended up spending an absolutely miserable winter. This is in 1777 to 78 at a place called Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, a little bit outside of Philadelphia. And this was his winter camp. They were low on food and supplies. This was really before France had started to send their assistance. So Washington's army is still struggling. Men starved. Men froze to death. In fact, about 25% of Washington's army was lost to disease and exposure. And to give you kind of a sense of what we're talking about, this is William Trago's famous painting, "The March to Valley Forge," and it's kind of hard to tell, but you can see bare legs, right, among the soldiers. You can see soldiers without shoes. You can see soldiers who are bandaged up, right? It would not have been a fun experience. And throughout the winter, it was bitter, bitter cold. Washington's men didn't have the food and the shelter, the supplies that they needed. The French had not gotten involved yet. They were going to, but remember, it takes a month to a month and a half to cross the ocean. So it was a pretty tough winter. But in spite of that, there were some positives that came out of this experience. For one, Washington used the winter to continue to train his troops. He was assisted by a German who came over to offer his assistance, to offer his help training Washington's army. So he takes charge of whipping Washington's army into better fighting shape. So when they come out of Valley Forge, they're much better trained, they're much better disciplined, right? It's almost like a different army, right? Kind of a ragtag group goes in and a disciplined fighting machine comes out. They're still not at the level of the British, but they're much more disciplined. When the winter ends, right, France shows up, right? In the spring of 1778, the French start joining in, which gave tremendous assistance in having the money to fight the war and having the supplies to fight the war. The Americans won a big battle against the British in New Jersey in June of 1778, which helped kind of force the British out of the middle colonies. They decided, all right, we've kind of done our thing here. Let's try a new strategy. Let's go down to the south and attack the colonies from the south. So in the south, there's really fierce fighting through the Carolinas, moving north towards Virginia, and patriots and loyalists, right, that split still exists. And so you ended up having American colonists fighting on both sides, right? Colonists who sided with England would join up and fight with them. Colonists who sided with the Patriots would join in and fight with Washington's army. So it was pretty intense fighting. If you've ever seen the movie The Patriot, right, kind of think about that. That's set in the South as the Americans take on the British. both sides won battles. They kind of traded punches. If you think about it as sort of a boxing match, both sides are doing damage to the other, but neither one really seemed able to get the knockout that they needed to win the war until 1781. The Americans and their French allies finally get the knockout blow, and it came at Yorktown here in Virginia. Washington recognized an opportunity to trap the main British army under a British general named Cornwallis at Yorktown. So Washington moves decisively, and he pins Cornwallis in on the land, right? Traps him up against the water. Cornwallis's only hope was to escape on boats, right? To sail out of Yorktown. But the British Navy never came because they were held off by the French Navy. So, trapped between the American Army and the French Navy, Cornwallis surrenders, effectively ending the revolution. The final peace treaty doesn't get finalized until 1783. There's some more fighting and skirmishing that happens, but no more major battles. Yorktown is really the final blow to the British, and at that point, they start offering peace to the Americans and offering to end the revolution. So for your response question, you've got two drawings. Draw and label a picture that shows an important detail about what went down at Valley Forge and what went down at the Battle of Yorktown. Be specific, be detailed, use labels.